Hello, I'm Harry Stachini and you are listening to the Staff Room Podcast, the show where each week I share anonymous stories from teachers who are overworked, underpaid and close to a mental breakdown. So think of it as teacher therapy, as they remind us of all the troublemakers, class clowns and the flat-out criminals we all remember from school. So join me and my guests and hear what your teachers really have to say. And we're off, episode number 6 of the Staff Room Podcast. How's it going, everyone? Thank you very much for tuning in. Hope everyone's week's going well. Hope your day's going well, wherever you're listening to this. I mean, I tend to listen to my podcast while I'm driving or going on a walk. You know, I don't know, maybe you're a sociopath and you just put it on and then sit on the sofa and just stare at the wall. I don't know, maybe that's you. I'm not sure. But wherever you're listening to this, thank you very much for tuning in. And if you're a first-time listener, even better, because, it's great. It's building, you know what I mean? More people finding out about it, more people joining in. But yeah, I hope everyone is doing well. I'm all right. I've dusted off the verbal assault that I received last week from that little, I would say little, he was massive, from a chubby-faced teenager. For those that don't know, right, I was cycling home from work one day, and I had Love Is a Battlefield playing on my iPod. It had just come on, and just at the moment it was getting to like the breakdown of the chorus, this car came reeling past me, and out of the window was this beanbag of a head that belonged to a kid that was clearly picked last in PE, and he roared at the top of his voice, loud enough for me to hear. Bearing in mind, I've got this 80s classic blaring in my ears. Gay boy, gay bike. And, I just laughed it off. I couldn't get near him because, he was travelling at like 40 mile an hour, probably the fastest he's ever moved. But, I dealt with it like any normal person would. I got home and I immediately told someone about the experience and had a laugh about it. I didn't do what that young man seemed to do when he got upset, which was eat his feelings. I didn't go down that path, but I don't think my bike's even that bad. You know what I mean? Yeah, it does have a little rack on the back where I can put me saddlebags. Look at me, sounding like a cowboy. I'm pretty sure they're called something else. I don't know if they're called saddlebags, but I felt like the gay boy comment was in relation to the fact I had on Love Is a Battlefield. But do you know what? We are strong. Heartache to heartache, we stand. No promises, no demands. I don't know the rest, but all I know is that love is a battlefield. But yeah, I'm doing all right. So thank you very much to everyone that showed concern for what happened to me. And when I mean everyone, I mean no one. Everyone that I've told has just gone, that is hilarious. And, even now I can kind of still see this little doughy face. He must have been about 14. Just pasty flakes flying everywhere as he was like, gay boy, gay bike. Yeah. I don't know, if I did that, if I put my head out the window of a car and screamed at someone on a bicycle and my mum or dad were driving, I would have got an absolute rollicking, especially if it was my dad. I reckon he would have circled back around and been like, apologise to that man immediately. But yeah, I don't know, maybe that shows something more about the parenting than the doughy-faced child sat in the back of the car. But yeah. I'm all right, that's what I'm telling you. And today's episode is an absolute cracker. I've got a very good mate of mine on, and it is the comedian James Allen. I don't know why I've said the comedian James Allen. He's just a comedian. But it was great having James on the show, and I've known James for a fair few years. Like most people that have come onto this, they're people that I'm familiar with. But me and James actually had a podcast a few years ago, which was called Two Men, Many Voices. And if you've not heard of it, I'm not offended because no one fucking listened to it. But we're both now doing our own thing. James is part of the Damn Daniel podcast, which has blown up over the past few months, featuring Dean Coughlin and Danny McLaughlin. Very good podcast. Do check it out. But only after you've listened to this episode with me and James Allen. All right, loyalties, I'm just saying. But it was really, really good to have James on the show because he's just like an open book. I mean, for someone that I think he would definitely consider himself an anxious person. He isn't worried about oversharing or just diving into some of them toe-curling moments of his past, because the first 25 minutes of this episode, before we even get into the story from the teacher, which is a great story, but the first 25 minutes is mainly about James's school days, because it's just got some like real in-betweener moments to it. He got invited to like teachers' weddings, which I don't think is a very common thing. He even speaks about kind of like the social issues that he had a problem with, because he had a real problem trying to make friends, which he touches on within the episode. Also some like pretty nasty cyberbullying. I think that's probably the right term for it. But it's just interesting, because the person that I know James to be, he's not a difficult person to get along with, and he's a nice guy, but by the sounds of it in school, he had a pretty hard time of it, but also didn't make it easy for himself at times, just because of, I don't know, even he looks back and goes, good Lord, what was I doing? But you'll find out more about that within the episode. As well as that, James also shares a story from probably one of the roughest gigs he ever had, where Les Battersby from Coronation Street was in the audience. And just a little pre-warning, there's going to be quite a lot of bad language in this. So, if you're listening to this around kids, I would say get them to leave the room, or you yourself, leave the room. And if you're a teacher listening to this on your lunch break, definitely lock the door, because, I feel like if someone walks in and hears what we're talking about, you're probably going to get sacked. Now, the story I got sent for this week has come in from an assistant ed teacher that was working in a school about 20 years ago, and had to deal with a particular lad who was very challenging, but was on the runabout in school, and they had to go and chase him down, and they found a few little surprises along the way, which I will get into the details of within the episode, but not before we go through the ups and downs of James's school days, many of which were spectacular downs. But I've made for entertaining listening and definitely a bit of character building. But just quickly before we get into this week's episode, I just want to say massive thank you to all the teachers that have sent stories in, because the first 5 episodes, or the 6 episodes now, have been great fun, and all the stories have been very different. But I am starting to burn through the stories that have been sent in. So if you're a teacher and you're listening and thinking, should I not, just send it in. Send a story in. It's totally anonymous, so it will be our little dirty secret. Think of it that way. But I want to keep doing these episodes, and I want to keep bringing them to you. So if you're enjoying it and you want to support the podcast and help keep it going, if you know a teacher, send them my way. And if you are a teacher, then what are you bloody waiting for, right? Get your fingers on your keyboard and send me an email, and I will turn it into an episode for you. I've got enough in the bank at the moment to keep us going for a little bit, right? Okay, don't worry, it's not going to disappear immediately. But I want to get this to like 100 episodes. So if you're a teacher and you're listening, please send me in a story. And if you know a teacher, just send them my way, right? And if you don't know any teachers, just find your local primary school, secondary school, college, and just barge in to the dean or the headmaster's office and say, I'm not leaving until someone on your faculty sends an email to staffroompod@gmail.com. See, I don't think I'm asking for much. So whatever you can do, I will greatly appreciate it. Thank you as ever to everyone that is tuning in and spreading the word, because it's getting bigger every week. So I greatly appreciate it. But let's get into this week's episode. This is me, James Allen, and an assistant ed teacher who is hot on the chase. Enjoy. I was buzzing to have you on because within the podcast that me and you did, obviously, you spoke quite openly about some of your school days, and I tell me if I'm wrong, but you ruffled a few feathers, didn't you, James?
I've ruffled a few feathers, kicked a few hornets' nests, put some mouse traps down.
Walked through the sixth form with a face mask on in this toxic environment.
Oh God, mate, that was such a that's literally is just the tip of the iceberg of what was the Titanic of school life. The problem is I can sort of define my school years into 3 chapters. So 7 to 9.
The glory days.
Nerdville, nerdism.
Right, okay.
10 to 11, wannabe hipster drama guy.
Okay, bit of a change there from nerd,
And then sixth form was like cast of the Inbetweeners, basically. So
all four of them within you.
yeah, literally.
What one would you say you're most similar to?
Will, without a doubt, Will. The amount of times I was called out at school and family members and all sorts. You're a bit like Will off Inbetweeners, aren't you? Not really, no.
Never mind the briefcase, thank you.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't even have a briefcase. I had a Fred Perry sort of thingy bag, crossover bag.
Yeah, was it leather?
It was leather, yeah. I've said this to many people. One of my favourite facts is, well, that you'd have to fact check it amongst the people that went from South Royal Sixth Form from 2015 and 2014. But I pioneered the brogue in sixth
Really?
form. Keep that under your hat, mate.
So hang on, you what type of brogues we talking? Is it like a suede canvas or is it a leather?
Suede canvas. Get out of town. No room for suede, especially during the winter months.
Yeah.
Leather, tan leather, patterned brogue, scored, obviously, or unscored if you're feeling a bit daring when it's icy. Wore them at a teacher's wedding in 2013. And people are like, oh my God, your shoes look really cool. I was like, yeah.
Hang on, how did you get invited to a teacher's wedding? Was it a teacher at the school?
Yeah, well, just...
Just used to hang around the staff room, part of the faculty.
Well, I used to subscribe to the AQA notice board, and they were like, right, Mr. Smith is getting married, and he's lacking numbers.
Were you the only one from the school or the sixth form to get invited to said wedding?
It was a group. I was 16, so it was me, a few people. She was a drama teacher, Miss Steele. She was phenomenal. Like one of my favourite teachers of all time. She was great. So it was me, a few of the drama students, and then my girlfriend at the time. I got invited to her wedding. One of the students sang at the wedding. And I remember like they threw rice at pigeons instead of confetti, which you're not meant to do because apparently pigeons explode.
Hang on, what if you throw rice at pigeons?
Yeah, rice and paracetamol, the latter of which I'd have to question your mental state. But
a pigeon will explode if you give it rice.
Yeah.
That sounds like total bollocks.
I know, that's as far as I'm willing to go with that statement. I've not done any research. People have just told me and I've been like, yeah, I believe that.
Any type of rice as well. Basmati takes it to another level, but a long grain is a different, smaller explosion.
If
you
you
got
feel
invited to the wedding.
Yeah. And so that's where the brogues made a debut. And then for sixth form, after the summer, the following term, I was like, right, I've done year 11, I've progressed. This is a chance for me to reinvent myself a little bit. So I thought, why not start style-wise? Navy suits, white shirt, red tie. Boom, this guy means business.
Hang on, did anyone else wear a suit?
Yes, you had to in sixth form. You had to.
Right, okay,
Sorry, that seems unusual. But in sixth form, they were like, we want you to dress like as if you're applying for a job every day, is what they'd say. Is he a car salesman? Is he selling windows? Does he look like he manages MK Dons?
Yeah, or just on The Apprentice.
Exactly, yeah. Junior Apprentice. So pioneered them, and everyone was like, oh, those shoes are really cool. I was like, yeah, it's brogues, mate, innit? Where'd you get them from?
Yeah, Brantano, never mind you.
Can't tell you. They say hush puppies, never done such.
So, would you say in a nutshell that you enjoyed your school days?
Yes and no, in a sort of answer that you didn't want. Yes, in the way that it definitely unlocked things that have shaped who I am today.
As you raise your eyebrows.
So, for example, like anyone in the arts, like drama was a huge thing for me. I think without that, I would have lacked any form of confidence building or communication skill. So yeah, but then no, at the same time, socially, I bounced around a lot of friendship groups socially, and was saying this to my current friends now, that I very much had to fight for myself, basically. So in year 10, the people who I was friends with, we kind of just not fell out, but like a breakup, reached the end. We didn't love each other anymore.
Right.
And my friend, I knew some people in my drama class who I'm friends with now, like my best mates. And they sort of offered me an opportunity to jump ship, transfer over. And I sort of kind of like not stabbed them in the back, but I was like, yeah, I'm done. Time for me to move on.
But surely if it was come to an end that you went with new people, they can't hold that against you.
Well, they were fuming a little bit, but then in the friendship group I have now, for 2 years, I was treated like shit. So, like, for example, they used to walk in formation, 2-2-2, banks of two. I was always at the back. My former friend, who's not in that group anymore, he, during the 2-minute silence, pushed a mini roll into my face.
Hang on, 2 minute silence of what?
Oh, sorry, for Remembrance Day.
Right, okay, you've just said it. We used to have a 2 minute silence as a group of friends.
Yeah, every day.
For the members that we'd lost from the friendship group.
Yeah, he pushed a mini roll into my head and then like threw a phone at me. I went to New York and bought them back some Hershey's Kisses because I'm a nice guy. And they opened the bag and threw them around the canteen. Routinely mocked in group chats. Prank called. Grogged. They used to come round to my house for lunch and turn all the...
What's a grog?
Oh, a grog is...
Is that when your keks are pulled down?
Yeah, it is, yeah. Also what the orcs drink in Lord of the Rings. But yeah, I was grogged many a time.
Was that, hang on, because like grogging, we never called it that. It was like you pull someone's keks down. Yeah, I think we just, I don't think it
there was no collective term for
it. It was just you've had your pants pulled down.
The most noticeable grog came in 2012 when I was grogged by a friend, inverted commas, at the new Brighton Floral Pavilion.
Right, and how did that go down?
Not well. Thankfully, the boxers didn't like show
any, manhood.
Yeah, or lack of it. So yeah, I escaped scot-free there. But yeah, I mean, I don't get wrong. Sorry, I've painted my friends up like they're horrible people. They're not. I understand that that's how they coped, and that was the sacrifice I was willing to make in order to become friends with them. Because I was worried about having no friends at school. Like my mum always worried that I wasn't going to make friends, not in like a sort of protective way, just out of curiosity. Like at uni, she sent me loads of links about how to make friends and stuff.
See, I find that like bizarre because obviously I only met you through comedy, but you're not a difficult person to get on with. You know what I mean? Like you're very confident. You're funny. I find it bizarre that you would have that idea of, oh God, I hope people accept me.
Yeah, well, I think that was setting from an early age, especially early friendship groups that form, because year 7, it took a while to kind of find a base friendship group. So I was really worried that I wouldn't have anyone to speak to. So I kind of was like, not please like me, but like, yeah. I'll do anything. I'll kick over that bin. Like, because in year 9, where I was doing that to a big friendship group, and then for a while we got on really well, and then we kind of fell out, and then a Facebook group got made up about me that was very derogatory.
Hang on. A Facebook group by who?
A friend. I thought it was a friend at the time. That wasn't nice. Just used to slag me off and stuff.
Okay,
and then
that's awful.
They chatted about me on Xbox Live as well. It's a cross-platform bullying. It was horrible.
Just to the world or in a private party.
Yeah, imagine that to some 17-year-old kid from Boston playing Call of Duty. Hey, this James Allen guy's a prick. Fucking coward.
People in Quincy finding out you wear brogues.
The guy doesn't wear proper shoes.
I like how you put an artificial cigarette into that character.
For an audio-based podcast.
Yeah, a 17-year-old from the 1970s.
Wait till I tell you about my smoking days. So yeah, they did that, and then I like reported it obviously and got called a snitch and stuff. So yeah, the evolution of friendship for me was a very rocky road. But I'm happy that I've got three friends from school who I still speak to, and we get on really well. And I think there's four of us, and I think four is like the healthy number. I think any more, and divisions happen and stuff.
Yeah, and any more, you need a round table if you go out for food. You know what I mean? Because you're always going to have one person sat at the end, and that is
exactly,
and that's going to be the person that's leaning into the middle because they want to, feel, like they're involved.
Yeah. Sorry, what was that? Hey, yeah.
Yeah.
Becky Henderson.
They're lumbered with all the plates and all sorts as it's passed down the table. So that essentially they feel like they're working, and that you've just brought them out to, help cut down on the bill.
Absolutely. I've sat on the end of tables many times and it is not a pleasant experience.
That's why King Arthur had a round one.
Exactly. Well, exactly. He did it right because traditionally, if you're at the head of a table, one thinks of Henry VIII, you're considered to be of importance, not me. Just all the glasses, all the plates. Horrible.
Just, looking at yourself in the back of a spoon going, who am I?
What's going on here? Why am I here?
You've mentioned this in the past to me before, but was it in sixth form that the incident with the fake girlfriend came about?
Oh,
because you told me this, but I really want people that listen to this podcast to hear about the lengths you went to.
Paint me out like a bad guy, Harry. Smear campaign. So, in year 7,
it was year 7.
I had a really big crush on this girl. She was in my science class. And we got on about loads of things. We talked about our shared love of Twilight, even though I'd never seen it. I didn't know what it was. I just talked about it because I wanted to talk to her. The stuff, hopeless romantic kind of stuff, because you do because you like someone. So, end of year school trip, we go to Chester Zoo. We hold hands around Chester Zoo. Oh, it was amazing.
You and this girl held hands around Chester Zoo, right? Okay, so things are going well.
Get off the bus on the way home. Boom, bombshell. Sorry, James, I'm moving school.
Oh.
I'm like, what? No, you're not. You're not though, are you? Funny joke. No, I am moving school. I was like, oh God. And then as a leaving present, because we held hands at the exact moment when we walked past the tiger enclosure, I bought her a plush toy tiger and gave it to her, and she didn't accept it.
I don't think I would have at the age of 12.
And then she moved to another school, and then in year 8, everyone was like, oh, are you still talking to that girl? And I was like, yep, we'd still talk. Yeah, we're going out actually. And I was like, shit, right? You've got to believe this now. It was like Daniel Day-Lewis rehearsing for Lincoln. I was in the moment, and I was like, oh, how's it going? Yeah, it's going really well. And I carried that on for maybe about 2 or 3 weeks, and then it was like, oh, how's it going? And I was like, oh no, we broke up. We went to Mackey's and she poured a milkshake on my head and said she didn't want to see me anymore.
Isn't that from 10 Things I Hate About You?
Did they pour a milkshake? Really? I've not seen that.
I'm pretty sure that is a scene from that. I could be wrong, but that sounds, almost too perfect, which it was.
And then, and then she messaged me whilst I was on holiday. I was like, what the fuck do you think rightly so, obviously. Like, she was like, what the fuck do you think you're doing, you prick, saying that we were going out when we weren't. I was like, I'm sorry, I just really liked you.
How long after the you saying she poured the milkshake on my head and her messaging you saying, why have you been making up lies? How long was that time period?
Within a week.
Right, okay. So, yeah, word travels fast.
It's not even my most embarrassing, one. The worst one was in year 9. I fancied this girl loads. It's like someone described it to me as it's called a manic pixie dream girl, which is like what male writers do in rom-coms to so for example, it fits the male character's needs. So if the male character likes the Smiths, this girl likes the Smiths, and like she likes everything he likes for the plot device that they'll get together. So it's kind of like a dream girl basically. And this girl was amazing. Like we used to share headphones in ICT and like listen to the Strokes and stuff. And I was like, oh, this is amazing. This cottoned on to one of the school bullies, who I would like to point out for the record has a Union Jack as his profile picture. So
right.
that's just on the record. I don't know what he does now. Maybe I think he breeds extreme bulldogs or something. He was like, "Oh, so did you like this girl then?" And I thought we got on really well because me and him, I did his maths work for him in exchange for not being pushed downstairs. And I was like, "Yeah," and he knew her, and he was like, "Oh, I'll say a word, I'll put a good word in." And I was like, "Oh no," and he did. So then next week's getting on really well. She was like sitting next to me and like laughing. I was like, "Oh, this is amazing," and I was gonna ask her out. And then the maths lesson before, she like ignored me, and then she was like sort of taking the mick out of me a bit. And the guy who I sat next to in maths went, "Oh yeah, basically, she doesn't really like you. Me and her just had a bet to see how long we could keep it up until you asked her out."
Jesus.
I was like, "Oh right, algebra then." Yeah.
I'll have your paper back for you on Monday.
Let's find the equation.
God, that's how that's awful.
Yeah, it was horrible. I hated that one.
So school in a nutshell had its ups and had its downs.
Yeah. Also asked someone out over Facebook and they said no. And it was it was ups and downs, Harry. A very steep roller coaster.
Well, the story that I've got features a teacher that you wouldn't mess with, right? And I don't know if you had any of them at your school. And did you have any like real troublemakers? Because the story I've got centers around one. But like I feel like what this person's done within this story, which we'll get to shortly. I think if you did that in any school, you would go down in like, you know, the history books. Like there was a lad who took a shit in a soap dispenser in my school.
Oh my God.
And that was like, you know, that was almost like everyone knew about it. But what's happened in this one, I've never ever seen before. Just the sheer confidence of it. But did you have any standouts from your school with either teachers that you didn't mess with, or just moments of absolute, you know, absurdity from a student?
Yeah, a guy called an ICT teacher.
Okay.
Of mine, who we were convinced had problems.
When you say problems, do you mean like, you know, he struggled with his times tables, or do you know, is it drinking?
I mean alcoholism, Harry.
Right.
Because he asked a student to go in one of their drawers for a pen, and the student opened the drawer, and there was a packet of Marlboro Reds and a miniature Jack Daniels. I was like, right, something is not right there. I would not mess with him. I always tried to get on his good side. There was one instance where he saw two pupils pass something to one another, and he just snapped. Here's the problem, like he seemed nice, and then he could just turn on a sixpence. Right, get out of my classroom now. I do not want to see you passing drugs in my class. Get out now. Like, sir, it was £1. Oh, right. But still, you should not be passing things around in class. I mean, he was completely mellowed down. He was a freaky character. There was a food tech teacher as well who, was really horrible. And I used to snatch the rolling pin off me and, really nasty. And I accidentally spilt red food colouring all over the place, and she thought it was blood. I was bleeding. And I got told off because apparently I staged that. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
So hang on, the ICT teacher who was an alcoholic. Oh, you've just snapped there like something's come to you.
I had another maths teacher. Oh my God, liked to throw his weight around, and quite literally because he was large. No disrespect to him, but he wasn't that nice. Not like a bully.
Which is surprising because they usually say people that are large tend to be quite bubbly.
Yeah, exactly. Bubbly. This man he was
bubbling all the time.
What is the opposite of a bubble? I don't know.
Yeah, neither do I. Just a pop.
He was not a bully in the traditional sense. He wouldn't shout that much, but he would often be very snipey and like add comments and stuff. And like, if you got something wrong on a mock exam, he'd like throw the paper back at you or like whack you on the head with it. And he'd like humiliate you if you got something wrong, which was just like didn't make anyone feel nice. Anyway, flash forward a few years later, he arrives at a stand-up comedy club I'm at. And he goes, "Oh, it's James Allen, isn't it?" I was like, "Oh my God, it's you." And I'm like, "Ah." And I felt like I was in his class again. And he was like, "Will you be on tonight?" And I was like, yeah. I thought, oh, he'll be at the back with his partner. He was front and row centre. And I'm on stage
the human
doing what I do.
Mark.
Literally, yeah, honestly, like, oh, does anyone remember the Honduras squad from 2009? And he's on the front row, completely stone-faced all the way through for 10 minutes, just not laughing at anything. And I was like, "You're an absolute cunt." Sorry.
Hey, you say what you want on this podcast,
mate. He was absolutely horrible.
Mind you, you've not had. When was the gig that Les Battersby from Coronation Street
mate.
was in the room?
I was telling my girlfriend about this when we were first speaking to one another, and she worked at the pub where the gig was at. So I don't know if she worked there whilst I was gigging. No, I don't think so. But that pub is notoriously like has a reputation, I think. So I walked in straight away. Bruce Jones, who plays Les Battersby, is there. Who, bless him, I think does have a drink problem. He was just stood at the bar making vowel sounds.
Singing the theme tune.
He's like, "Are you on tonight?" I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "Fucking have a good one, son." I was like, I do you want me to phone you a taxi, Les? Because I'm really scared. But bless him, he put his arm around me. And did one of those things relatives do who like to impose masculinity. You know when like a relative slaps you on the back?
Yeah.
I hate that. Or if they're like, "That's not a proper handshake, and you're breaking my hand, Uncle Colin." So he was there. Sorry. Anyway, to cut long story short, he left, and then the night started. It was it's like the first person's ever gig that they set up, so it was bad. You couldn't step in front of the speakers because they'd go like the mic was terrible. There was a guy who was asleep for all of it on the front row. People were on their phones. Getting to the end of the night, people just want to go home. People are drunk. So, "Oh, your penultimate act, ladies and gentlemen, there's James Allen." Like, yeah, I was like, "Hello, how are we?"
And that's
guy
where
at the back of that's where I met my nemesis. This guy at the back of the crowd just goes, "Cunt! Cunt!"
Not much you can do with that, is it?
Exactly. You know, if he'd have said like, "You lanky twat," would have been all right, mate. Let's have a cunt. I like, what? Like, but 2 seconds. I'd literally just said hello. "You heard me. You're a cunt." And I was trying to plow through my set. I got about 5 minutes in. He just kept going, "Cunt, cunt." And I went, right. I said, "I'm going to go now because I've not come here for him to be mean to me." And they were like, yeah. I said, "Oh, carry on, you cunt." I was like, "Nah, that's it. I'm done. It's right. See you later." Walked off stage and he tried to high five me. And I sort of like swiveled my hand under and went, "Nah, you could do one." He's like, "I'm only having a laugh, mate. I'm only having a laugh. It's comedy, isn't it?"
And that was, so Les Battersby, there was the one shouting that as well.
Imagine if it was.
No, that's what I thought it was. I thought it was.
Oh no!
Right.
Oh no! It was Les had gone by then. It was just
he was
a
filming.
drunk man. Like Les had a panto in Penzance.
See, the thing is, when you told me that before, I thought it was what's it? Bruce Jones? Is that his real name? Yeah,
Bruce Jones. Yeah,
I thought it was Bruce Jones that had shouted that to you.
Oh no!
And recently I was watching on Netflix the Yorkshire Ripper documentary, right? And yeah, mate, he's in it. He found one of the fucking bodies, and when he found it and he was all cut up, like, oh god, I was really shook up. I thought, I bet James was as well when you fucking said that to him.
Yeah, exactly. This is how I felt, Bruce, when you discovered one of the victims.
You were actually praying for Peter Sutcliffe to put his hammer in your head.
Exactly.
Put me out, me fucking misery. Right. Well, let me get cracking with the read for this week.
Okay.
Hello, the staff room. A long, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Well, actually, it was 20 years ago and was about 20 miles up the road. But honestly, the school felt like it was on a different planet compared to the one I'd moved from. It was like I'd gone from eating in a beautiful restaurant with the soothing background of hum-chilled music and the gentle tinkling of cutlery on fine china to stepping into the moon underwater at 11 p.m, where everything was sticky, leery, and people were hanging from fake chandeliers. And after all of that, they've still written, I bloody loved it. Which I think I know you've worked in schools before, that if you're in a bad school, you definitely you have got to enjoy it to some extent, to keep going back in. I've been to places before where on day 3, a member of staff was like, I didn't think you were going to come back. And it's like, well, I've got rent to pay. So I'm here.
Yeah, the first day of any school is especially schools that are, specialise in certain needs are very eye-opening. And I think if you can handle that, you can handle anything. If I can handle someone calling me a cunt
you can,
for 10 minutes, then I can conquer the world.
And playground duty.
Because I went to a school once, and it was just literally a corridor with rooms in. It was horrible. And I walked in and went, good morning, fuck off. Like, fine. Water off a duck's back.
You're not going to ruin my day. Okay.
Exactly, yeah.
But you've got to have that enthusiasm. They've said here, I've been promoted to a senior post, assistant head teacher. I know, big role, right? And my first few weeks had been a baptism of fire. I'd been assaulted by a child, sworn at on a daily basis, and had a child take a photo up my skirt before upskirting was even a thing. So they've said 20 years ago, so that's got to be early 2000s.
Yeah.
And that's pretty bold, that, if you're trying to take a picture up a teacher's skirt.
Horrible.
I know, it's awful. And 20 years ago as well, I don't know what you were rocking then, but mine was a Motorola Pebble.
Yeah. I don't think I had a phone 20 years ago. I was 4. So.
Oh, Jesus.
I'd have had one of those ones at Asda where
I would have been 6. Yeah, so no, I wouldn't have had a phone by then.
I used to play Snake a lot.
On someone else's phone.
Yeah, exactly, on my mum's phone. And those ones that, like in Asda, they were phones, but they weren't real phones, obviously. But you'd push the button and it had water in them. And you'd push the button and push the hoop up. And then the hoop would have to land on the ring. Don't know if you remember that.
I do, mate, but I also had a PlayStation, so.
Right. I mean, yeah.
There were other things to pass the time. They, mind you, though, that upskirting thing, it's shocking, but it doesn't surprise me that kids would try and do something as intrusive as that. As a lad I went to uni with told me that a boy in his school was expelled for, as he phrased it, accidentally on purpose putting his finger up a teacher's bum.
Oh my God.
I know, yeah. And that's I don't know how you accidentally on purpose do that. But it was a music teacher. And I feel like, I had a lad once kind of pat me on the bum, and I turned around and was just like, hey, if I did that to you, I'd get sacked. All right, so let's play fair here, okay?
That is...
Don't touch me and I won't touch you. All right, okay.
Yeah. When I was in year 10, one of my classmates had gotten hold of one of a science teacher's Facebook accounts.
And found it online, you mean?
Yeah, and just sent around a lot of photos of her on holiday.
Wow. I have heard of, in recent times anyway, of kids having WhatsApp groups where they've taken pictures of the teacher within a class and passed that around. And you're like, that's lethal, that, because, you can get turned into like a meme.
Exactly.
And yeah, not fun. I did also hear once that, so this was a teacher that was trying to break up a fight and got in between, I don't know if it was 2 lads or a girl and a boy, but the end result was, as you say, grogged. They were grogged, and everything from the waist down just came off.
Jesus.
Yeah, I know, and I think like that's difficult going back into work the next day after that, isn't it?
Yeah, like a hangover. Not today.
Yeah, I think you'd have to have a drink after that happened anyway. You
Yeah.
know, you might
Absolutely.
as well go and speak to that ICT teacher. Can I borrow a fag? He says, teaching was rather like a game of whack-a-mole. I'd go in with my eyes wide open, but honestly, most days I felt like my eyes were popping out my head. There was never a dull moment. One of the roles of being SLT was being on call and going to support other teachers when behaviour of students was just too much and was just disrupting lessons. I was on call a lot. On this one particular day, I got a call to go out to locate a particularly challenging student who had walked out of a lesson after causing absolute chaos. Right? They've not specified what this chaos is, but as this goes on, I feel like it's got to be pretty bad because, but they've said their MO was to just wreak havoc, drop the mic, and then leave, which you know is similar to you at a gig, James. You know what I mean? You just step on there, let off your dynamite
channel my inner Alex Turner.
And then out the door. So this student, they've said, he could also be quite aggressive. So it was always recommended that 2 adults play hide and seek with him and be used as backup when called upon. Now, I've seen this quite a bit where teachers have been like hiding, almost like surveillance teams, and then just pops out of a display board to grab hold of someone. And the kid's almost like, I didn't even know you were there. But yeah, the classic technique. So off I went to go and get one of my colleagues who was a no-nonsense diamond who had worked with the most challenging kids and worked absolute fucking miracles with them. She was my go-to person because absolutely nothing threw her. Now, I can think of quite a few teachers that I've seen that are similar to this, but when I read this, I couldn't help but think of like, I had like a female Ray Winston in my head. You know what I mean? Like the only teacher that you would see doing playground duty with a leather jacket and sunglasses.
Yeah.
Just shutting down kids, catching balls and popping them.
But then also giving the kids the best odds on the Crystal Palace game the following weekend.
Yeah, betting play, nah. They've said, but that was all about to change. Right, the school building had plenty of hiding places and was really good for playing chase. There was a lot of alternative routes, staircases and external rat runs for kids to use. We started outside in the hollowed out bushes that the kids often use to have a crafty cig. The bush often looked like it was on fire. So he wasn't anywhere to be found, so we went back into the building and searched the obvious places and then headed into the dark depths of the PE corridor. And that's when we spotted the first clue, or rather, we smelt it. The unmistakable aroma, a warm, freshly laid turd, just visible in the shadows of the stairwell. Yes, you've guessed it. Our scarlet pimpernel. Pimpernel. Thanks for being on the podcast, James. Our scarlet pimpernel was leaving us helpful breadcrumbs, in a manner of speaking, to lead us to him. We literally followed a pathway of poo to the point where he was located, hiding under a different stairwell. To this day, I cannot remember how the conversation went when we finally caught up with him. However, what the actual fuck was playing on a loop in my head, walking along the corridor when we found him. Although I do remember that he gave zero shits about the fact that he'd done multiple shits in the corridor. Pun intended. Now, it was in the days before schools had CCTV along every corridor, and to be honest, I'm deeply grateful for that, because I'm not sure I could have coped with having to watch 20 minutes of video of me laddo dropping his keks and curling out tiny turds. Now, it was almost like, not frowned upon, but it wasn't cool to be known to be having a poo at school.
No, and I have pooed when I was in school. Especially sixth form, where I would often not sleep in the evening, just plough on through to the morning, and then sort of fall asleep at lunchtime. And so my bowels were everywhere. There was a minefield, so I just happily poo in school when I was in sixth form. If people found that out about you in especially year 9, the hormonal years, you'd like, I feel like effigies burned of you. Yeah, you'd be like Mussolini dragged through a town while people threw stuff at you.
It never really bothered me, to be honest. I was never like precious about it, but I do know that it was taboo to go to the loo in high school for a number 2, especially.
My friend, one of my best friends, Barnaby, tells a cracking story of when he was in primary school, and the teacher could smell shit, and they're like, right, who shit themselves, and everyone stood up, and the kid next to Barnaby stood up, and then a poo just sort of rolled out of his trouser leg, and presented itself onto the carpet.
Like a drug bust. I haven't got anything on me.
He's literally just.
That's so like it fully intact as well.
Yeah, it just like rolled out. I've never pooed myself. I've pooed myself not in school, but I was on IBS medication in year 9.
Wow.
Because my bowels are a bit shaky.
Bit like your social circles around that time, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
They all bled into each other.
I had to hand in a note to the German teacher because it was every German lesson every Thursday. I'd have to go out and take it. Now, German teacher was like the kid's favorite because he was like sort of cool, had a joke, bit of a laugh. He read the note. James needs to be excused from a lesson at 12:30 for his, and he read the note and started laughing. He was going in front of the class. All the kids were going like, "Sir, what's going on? What is it? What's up?" He goes, "I can't tell you. I have to go to 12:30. I have to go out, take my medication. I come back in. As soon as I come back in, bit of silence. The whole class stand up, point at me, and go, Scheiße, Scheiße, Scheiße." It's horrible.
But it's a bit funny though. You wouldn't share that with the class, but maybe you felt like you could withstand that.
Well, I got out of it. Was ist meine Lieblingsfußballmannschaft? So if anything, it probably did do me some favours. But it's absolutely horrible. I also weed myself in primary school as well, which isn't nice.
I think weeing yourself. There's more the idea of being wet. You know, as if like you can wipe away your number 2, but being wet is not a nice feeling. And
no. And I'm in the camp that piss smells worse than shit.
I don't know about that.
You don't reckon? I can tolerate shit, but I can't tolerate piss.
Well, if you think about this, within this, the teachers said that they got the unmistakable aroma of a warm, freshly laid turd.
Right.
Definitely is unmistakable. You know what I mean? Like you never query, do you? Like, does that smell like shit? Either it smells horrible, or can you smell shit? That tends to be how it goes. You know, there's no middle ground. The stories continued. They said the student was subsequently excluded, as to be expected. He only had a few weeks left at this point. He was in year 11 and his exams were coming up. So in those, actually, when I read it first time around, I thought this was going to be like a young child. But the fact this is a 15-year-old, possibly 16-year-old, that is pooing in the corridor, that's what I mean about the confidence too. If that's what you're doing, never mind what you do in a classroom, it says he just wreaks havoc and then leaves.
Yeah. He quite literally wreaks havoc.
But yeah, I was surprised when they said year 11. So in those remaining weeks, there were further escapades with Sergeant Shit, as he was nicknamed by me, including him climbing on the school roof and announcing he was Superman and that he could fly. I do remember thinking in that moment, and for a while afterwards, what have I done? Why the fuck did I choose to come here when I could have been sat at my old school just getting on with the simple act of teaching? However, there was actually no question. I loved that school and lived and breathed it for well over a decade. Well, I can bet you one thing, I guarantee you weren't breathing as you went down that PE corridor.
Well, if he said he was Superman, obviously, if you've got to go, you've got to go. I remember I went to the toilet in my school, in my high school, and I used the urinal, and in the urinal next to me was a fully fledged turd. And I thought, well, you've gotten this far. Why would you not just use the toilet? But, you know, if you did that in the 90s, you'd be hailed as like one of the great artists Define the system. Define the cistern having a shit in the urinal.
That's
horrible.
You're quite exposed as well doing that. You've
Exactly.
not got a door, have you? It's just
and you're bent over, so you can't really.
That would be a two-man operation. Someone watching the door.
Absolutely.
Defo.
Where'd you put the toilet paper?
Yeah, we're going to do this together, me and my mate, but we're just going to promise that we don't make eye contact while doing it. That would be your disclosure agreement. They've continued and says, as for where he is now, I believe he has gone into the trades and is doing something with building. I hope that he's doing okay, and I'm forever grateful for the contribution he made to both my ability to deal with shit physically and metaphorically. Because and because this is one of my favourite stories from my career as a teacher. So I like the fact the teacher's got a good sense of humour about this. And, hopes that the person's doing well. But I feel as if you're year 11 and you're shitting in a corridor and climbing on the roof, I can't imagine people would be expecting big things from you. But you never know. He could. Who knows what Jeff Bezos was like at school? He could have been a tearaway. Yeah,
he pissed Bezos just pissed everywhere. Bedwetter. Getting called a bedwetter. Oh, that's horrible. Did you ever get called anything at school? Like,
yeah, well, I've got quite a square head, and it's quite large as well.
Right.
So I used to get called Cube because I've got obviously square head, and I just embraced it. Like it was mainly my mates that said it, and I got it on the back of a football shirt. I used to go football training with that on, number 11, Cube. But no, I never really got. I remember one time, one of the lads on the football team saying to me, he was basically giving grief to someone, and he said, I wouldn't do it to you because I know you'd say something back to me. But like, it wasn't like they were a malicious person. It was more like a backhanded compliment of going, you will make me look silly. And that's not me saying I've got buckets of wit, but I think because, and I'm credit to my dad on this, my dad spoke to me like I was a 45-year-old man from the age of 9.
Right.
So, like another lad said to me, "You've got very thick skin, you Harry." And I think I can laugh at myself, so I don't really get flustered by things. So I think most of the time people tend to call someone a name and repeatedly do it if they know they're going to get a rise out of the person, as if you just take ownership of it and give as good as you get, so to speak. You don't tend to get much shit.
Yeah, they got. See, I had very thin skin.
Right, but I find that surprising though, how open you can be about your blunders.
That's true. I suppose. But now with the benefit of hindsight, I was like, you probably were a bit of a dickhead. But at the time, I was like, oh, James, you 4-eyed twat, fuck off.
So, yeah, I tell kids that I've worked with, like, you need to be able to laugh at yourself, and because there's loads of people that can give it and can't take it, and that's like one of the worst things when you've got a kid who's a bit of a gobshite and happily will be the leader of the pack and point out other people to ridicule, but as soon as it's turned back on them and they're whinging like that, I tell you what, that's one thing that I really gets me, is if a kid is a whinger, right? Because like a whiny kid, oh my lord! Because if you're a whiner or a sulker, they're like the two, for me anyway, two of the most degrading things you can be called by someone or be known as. Because the idea of someone going, stop sulking, oh my god, you know what I mean? My dad used to say it to me when I was a kid, even if I wasn't sulking, and then I'd snap out and be like, I'm not sulking. And he'd be like, well, now you're whining. And I'd be like, oh.
Oh, yes, I can't win. My friends used to do that to me. Like if I retaliated, they'd be like, don't cry, James. Like, I'm not crying, am I? I'm not crying, that's stupid. I'm not. Well, if I was crying, then there'd be tears coming out my eyes, wouldn't there? I'm not crying, you won't do it. But eventually I would be tearing up.
But that's it. I've seen it loads though, where, the kid that's kind of got the loudest mouth, tends to have the thinnest skin, because they're like, if I'm big and boisterous, no one will come near me.
Yeah, that's true. That's what, and also, yeah. Plus, you have got to dish it out to take it. I mean, that's just like a normal, like, well, no, not normal, not like workplace bullying, obviously, but like.
But no, the idea that in school kids tease as like this lad here who's shitting in a corridor, if he is booting off on the fact that when he's back in school, someone goes, takes the mick out the fact he's doing that, then, well, don't bite off more than you can chew, mate.
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't mess with him. If you shout at him, well, I will poo on the floor.
Because there was a kid in our school who was nicknamed Spooner, and I feel like there's a lot of like anal references within this episode, so I apologise for anyone that's the first time listening and thinking this. I thought this was just about like sharing stories from teachers, but there was a lad who was known as Spooner because he apparently put a spoon up his bum. I can't imagine it was true, but like if that was said to him, it would be like a German Shepherd just going absolutely mad behind a little chain link fence to you, and people used to do it because it would just wind him up. And I think as soon as you start showing that it's bothering you, that's when you're in trouble.
If that sticks for life, that's horrible. Because there was a guy, when I was in year 7, there was a lad who, a rumour went round that he didn't wipe his arse. And for me, that's the word, that's like horrible. And even though I don't think that's true, but there's always a part of me that goes, oh yeah. And I know his name. I know the guy's name. And I often think at a high school reunion, if we all met up, I'd be like, oh, there's Craig. There's Tim, and there's
still not
there's
wiping.
a guy who doesn't wipe his arse. Yeah. There's Andrex. Hey.
Is that what you used to call him?
No, there was also a rumour that he eventually did wipe it, but he took his sock off on D of E and had to wipe it with a sock.
So of all the times that he needed to do it was on a Duke of Edinburgh.
Yeah, and he used one of his socks.
If anything, he is utilising his surroundings there because you are limited to what you've got to use.
Exactly. That's very much a Bear Grylls adaptable die.
It was either that or the wrapper of a pot noodle.
Oof.
But no, I never really got any teasing. Or like, I never thought I had any nasty name calling. People might have said stuff behind my back, but Squarehead and Cube were the two that I used to get, but it never really bothered me.
Oh, look at you, mate. Look at you.
Were you drilled?
Glasses. I had a mullet in my early years. Not a lot of mullet nicknames, but just like sort of Jemima instead of James. Twat.
Big emphasis on that one there as well.
Specky. LeBron Frames.
That's really very good.
Lenzel Washington. I'm joking. That wasn't one, but LeBron Frames was.
I like that.
You're shit. You're all shit. You're a twat. Fuck off, you prick. Gay bod. You're a gay bod. You're a gay boy.
Yeah, that was a big thing, wasn't it? Like people would throw that around all the time at school.
Just casual homophobia. I was like, ugh. Take a look at yourself, guys. Because your dad has paint on his jeans. Sorry, that's
no context to that.
Yeah, no. No, I'm not saying that it's a parental thing, but I am kind of saying that it is a parental thing.
Right, okay. So if you're the son of a decorator...
you're bound to be homophobic.
You can't paint over the cracks, pal.
Yeah.
Look at that. That was
Mate, that was seamless.
Pleased with that pun. So out of this story, whose side?
Much like my trousers when I got grogged, seamless. Sorry, carry on.
After I'm kind of like adding into these. I'm basically adding into the episodes a student or the teacher, right? So after hearing what you've heard there about this student, whose side are you on, the student or the teacher? For me, before you answer it, I'm going to go with the student purely for the fact the confidence to do that, because I don't know what he's done in the classroom, but to then leave the room and decide, well, I'm going to take a poo as I go, multiple poos, might I add, as I go down a corridor, is just like, it's beyond reckoning.
The fact he left an Easter egg trail of poos, I think, have you had those moments where you'll carry on about your day, and all of a sudden you go, oh, remember that thing you did in year 5? Like, I think
right, and
that
it
is
sends a shudder through you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe.
But do you remember when you performed Enrique Iglesias, I'll Be Your Hero, to Sophie Beckinsale?
Imagine if his kids go to that school and the legend has been passed down to them, and they're almost like, oh, that's their dad is the guy that, the one that shits at collection time. Yeah, that guy. Yeah.
My dad was a shitter. His dad before him was a shitter, and let me tell you, I'm a shitter. That is, I'm gonna err on the teacher's side here, purely because the embarrassment thing of like having to remember that when you're older and being like, why the fuck did I poo on some stairs? And also for a teacher, that's not a nice. I think as a teacher, you can handle if someone's being bullied, if someone's acting aggressively or having bad behavior. But it kicks up another notch if you're having to deal with fecal matter that has deposited from their body and is being dotted around premises. That is a whole nother level that would never be willing to do. So respect to the teachers for putting up with that.
Okay.
I mean, don't worry, the rebellious nature, sure. That's probably a sign of old age now that I wouldn't advocate such a rebellious act. If I was 16, I'd be like, yeah, shit, wherever you want, mate.
Well,
but
I don't advocate it. I'm just impressed by the confidence to do it.
Right.
That's my, because put it this way, he's excluded, so there would have had to been a phone call home. And you've worked in schools, and I imagine you've made phone calls home, as I have many a times, to have to say, yeah, you need to come in. He's been excluded.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah. Why is that? Well, he's done. Was it one? Let me just double check. Yeah, I can confirm 7 shits down the corridor in various locations. So yeah, you need to come and pick him up. And
he's always like that.
Only 7. He must be having an off day. I can't imagine what the response would have been, because that's just an awkward position to.
Yeah, having to phone up and say your son or daughter has defecated.
But
everywhere.
Just out of protest. I'm really sorry.
Where? Literally everywhere.
Yeah, it's the PE corridor. Oh, it's a shame. He loves PE. I don't know why he's doing that. Yeah, it's never mind the fact it's in the PE corridor. It's just the fact he's shit everywhere. Can you please come and collect him? Yeah,
I was just a really big fan of Gary Lineker from when he shat himself on the pitch.
Yeah, but he's where is he at the moment? He's just in the playground. The caretaker's washing him down with a pressure washer. All right, okay.
He bloody hates bathrooms.
But yeah, if you could just come and collect him, he'll be at reception. We've wrapped him in a curtain from an old.
That's always bad. That's always bad if like I have shit myself, and the exchange into different items of clothing is really I had to fashion boxes out of a hoodie once when I shat myself.
I've got boxes out of a hoodie, so obviously legs went into the arms.
Yeah.
And then hang on, did you then put trousers over the top of that?
Oh no, it was a bit like a sort of makeshift nappy, so the hood acted as a flap that I could tuck in.
Yeah, but if you're wearing boxes, you must have put something over the top.
Yeah, I wrapped it around my legs and then put it through the middle.
Nice.
When I was at the Crocky Trail.
Oh mate, I know Crocky Trail.
Yeah, if you go, my fossilised shit from 2008 might be there.
And then, so how did it come out? Were you just having too much fun?
I needed to go, and this was probably what triggered my IBS. It's not non-existent anymore. My IBS has been dormant since 2011. But when I needed to go, and there was no stopping me.
I'm having such a good time. I'm having a ball.
Literally having a. So I would find the nearest. Yeah, and just. It went everywhere. It was horrible.
The fact you paused then, I felt like you just pictured that in your head and it almost had to shake it away.
Well, like, I'm picturing my uncle's face of disgust, and the fact that every family party since he won't speak to me for more than 2 minutes because of that incident. That is his Vietnam.
But that's so. Was your uncle there with you at the time?
Yeah.
Was it his hoodie?
No, it was my hoodie as well. It was, but if it was his, then set it on fire. But every time I see him, he's like, "Hi, you okay? Yep, see you later."
That's
I'm like, look, let's just talk about what happened. I had to go.
Yeah, and so do I now. I've got to go and pick the kids up, so I'll see you in a bit, mate. All right.
I
I feel like you've shared a lot on this, James.
know. I know. It's got Piers Morgan's life stories.
As ever, you are a fountain of, I wouldn't say cringiness. It's just, I find it remarkable considering how the person I know you to be, that you were anything like that.
Yeah. Oh, you're so chilled. Sit down and let me tell you about 2012.
Let people know where they can follow you, because some of the pictures you put up of your past are, good Lord, they are spectacular.
Oh, thank you, mate. You can follow me on Twitter at JamesAllen27. You can follow me on Instagram, James.Allen27. You can add me on Facebook. If we don't know each other, I won't accept. But you can also follow the podcast I'm on at Damn Daniel Pod on Twitter and Instagram, and Damn Daniel Podcast on Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts. Yeah.
Sweet. Thanks for coming on, mate.
Thank you. So this has been an absolute delight. Thank you so much for having me.
I told you, didn't I? He's an open book, James Allen, sharing all them wonderful moments from his school days, and I'm definitely going to get him back on in the future, because we didn't even get into the fact that James himself has worked in quite a few schools, and I know for a fact he's got some stories up his sleeve, so I will get him back on in the future and we can dive back into a few of them. But great to have him on. Really enjoyed that, and massive thank you to the teacher that sent that in. God, no, I know you said that kid that was doing all the poos has gone into the building trade, but I don't know. I wonder what he's doing like right this very second. I wonder how his lockdown's been. Maybe he's found it that stressful. He's just started shitting around different areas of the house. I don't know. But every time I get a story sent in and they're referencing a certain kid, I always tend to think, I wonder what they're doing, like how their 2020 was, and now, what does 2021 look like for him? But I don't know. If you're listening, pal, get in touch and let me know. That would be fantastic. Next week, I have Callum Oakley coming on, and really excited to have him on. Callum is a great comedian. He was 16 when he first started doing comedy and first appeared on Britain's Got Talent. Made it to the semi-finals to get beaten by the dog Podsy. I think it's Podsy. I don't know. Callum will tell you about it in next week's episode. But we're going to be going over a story, which is a nice fun one, about a lad who turned up a little bit late to a science lesson with a valid excuse, but still, something that you wouldn't want to share with your teacher. But yeah, thank you very much to everyone that tuned in, and I'll see you all next week. So until next time, look after yourselves and take it easy. The Staff Room podcast is produced by Harry Stakini, artwork by Poppy Spinks, and soundtrack by James McGraw.